Did you know that over 10,000 people were deported from Australia last year, many of them without ever committing a serious crime? Sounds extreme, right? But the truth is, Australia's deportation rules have changed, and what used to be minor mistakes or personal matters can now be life-altering. From a single social media post, to simply forgetting to update your home address, you could be kicked out of the country, even if you've lived there for decades. And here's the real kicker. Some of these deportation decisions happen without warning and without the chance to appeal. So if you're living in Australia on a visa or plan to move there, you need to know what could get you deported in 2025. Stick around because we're breaking down 10 shocking updated rules that could impact your future in Australia. You won't believe number 6. Number 10. Misleading information on visa applications. This one might seem obvious at first, but what counts as misleading information on a visa application in Australia is far broader and far more dangerous than most people think. In 2025, immigration authorities are cracking down harder than ever. Even a tiny mistake or innocent omission on your visa paperwork can now be grounds for immediate visa cancellation and deportation. We're not talking about forged documents or fake names, although those will absolutely get you banned. We're talking about failing to disclose things like a past visa refusal in another country, a forgotten part-time job, or even a minor traffic conviction from years ago. What's worse, some people don't even realize they've made a mistake until it's too late. The Department of Home Affairs uses advanced data matching systems to cross-check your application with global immigration databases, tax records, even social media. And if they spot a discrepancy, they can label it as misrepresentation, which is a serious legal breach, even if the error was unintentional. There are real cases where people were deported just for not mentioning a rejected U.S. tourist visa from 10 years ago, or forgetting to list a change in marital status. These aren't criminals. These are students, workers, families, people who simply made an error. And here's the harsh part. Once your visa is canceled for providing false or misleading information, you could face a ban of up to 10 years from re-entering Australia. That's a decade of lost opportunities, broken families, and shattered dreams, all because of a form you filled out too quickly. So before submitting any immigration paperwork, triple-check everything. And if you're unsure, speak to a licensed migration agent. Because in today's system, one small oversight can destroy your entire future. Number 9. Working in breach of visa conditions. Think picking up a few extra shifts at work is harmless? Think again. In Australia, working outside the limits of your visa conditions is one of the fastest ways to get deported, and in 2025, immigration authorities are taking this more seriously than ever. Many people, especially international students or temporary workers, don't realize that their visa strictly limits how many hours they can work and where they can work. For example, some student visas allow only 48 hours of work per fortnight during study periods. Go over that, even unintentionally, and you're technically in breach of your visa. And no, working cash in hand under the table isn't safe either. The government is now using advanced technology and cross-referencing tax records, bank activity, and even ABNs to identify people who are working beyond what's allowed. If they catch you, your visa can be instantly canceled without the chance to appeal. It doesn't stop there. If you're found working in breach of conditions, you could also face a re-entry ban, which means you can't apply to return to Australia for years. That's a long-term consequence for what might seem like a short-term financial decision. Imagine this. You're an international student trying to cover rent, so you take on a second job. You keep your grades up, follow the law, and never cause any trouble. But one day, immigration knocks. Because your tax file number showed income above your visa limit. Just like that, your future in Australia is over. So what's the takeaway? Know your visa conditions inside and out. Don't assume you'll get away with a few extra hours. And if your financial situation is tight, speak to your school or a migration agent. Don't risk everything over a paycheck. Number 8. Medical mental health grounds. This is one of the most controversial reasons someone can be deported from Australia, and in 2025 it's become even more strict and complex. Under current immigration policies, visa holders can be denied entry, have their visa refused, or even be deported if they're considered to pose a significant cost to the Australian healthcare system. That includes people with serious medical conditions, chronic illnesses, and in some cases, even mental health disorders. Now here's where it gets alarming. It's not just about the cost of treatment. The government also looks at whether someone might be a burden on social services or pose a public safety risk. That means if you're diagnosed with a condition like schizophrenia, severe depression, or a contagious disease, your visa status could be reviewed, even if you've never broken the law. And the review process isn't always clear. Some applicants have been refused visas simply because their condition was labeled as high cost, regardless of their personal circumstances or how long they've lived in Australia. Families with children on the autism spectrum or individuals requiring dialysis have faced heartbreaking deportation decisions, even when they're fully employed and contributing to society. Mental health is especially complex. If a person is deemed to be at risk of harming themselves or others, authorities can cancel their visa immediately under character or health grounds, even without a criminal record. It's a tough reality. Australia's immigration system, while focused on national interest, can sometimes overlook the human side of these issues. If you or someone you know is dealing with a serious health condition while on a visa, it's crucial to get professional legal advice early. Because when it comes to health, the wrong assumption could cost you your entire future in Australia. Number 7. Not updating address or details. It sounds simple, maybe even harmless, but forgetting to update your address or contact details with Australian immigration could have devastating consequences, including visa cancellation and deportation. Yes, seriously. Under Australian immigration law, all visa holders are legally required to notify the Department of Home Affairs of any change in their residential address, phone number, or email, and they must do it within 14 days of the change. Most people either don't know this rule exists, or they treat it as unimportant. But in 2025, this small oversight can ruin lives. Why is this such a big deal? Because if the government sends you an important notice, like a visa renewal reminder, a request for documents, or even a potential breach notification, and it bounces back or goes unanswered, they consider you unreachable. In their system, that can mean you're non-compliant, or worse, unlawfully present in the country. People have been deported simply because they missed a letter that was sent to an old address. Imagine living in Australia for years, working legally, contributing to society, and suddenly being told your visa is cancelled because you failed to respond to an official notice you never received. It's not just about where you live. You also need to update the department if you change schools, switch employers, or even renew your passport. Every detail matters. In a system increasingly run by automation and data tracking, missing one tiny update can trigger a chain reaction you can't stop. So here's the takeaway. If you move, switch emails, or change anything on your record, log in and update your details immediately. It's one of the easiest ways to stay compliant, and one of the most overlooked. Don't let a paperwork mistake cost you your place in Australia. Number 6. Online gambling or fraud allegations. You might think what you do online is your business, especially if it doesn't hurt anyone. But in 2025, Australian immigration authorities are watching more closely than ever, and even being linked to certain online activities, like gambling, scamming, or fraud, can put your visa at serious risk. What's shocking is that you don't need to be convicted of a crime. In some cases, even allegations, ongoing investigations, or suspicious financial behavior can trigger a visa review or outright cancellation. One growing area of concern? Online gambling. If you're on a visa and regularly participating in unregulated gambling sites or moving large sums of money between accounts with no clear explanation, it can raise red flags. Authorities may question whether you're involved in illegal betting rings, money laundering, or fraudulent activities, even if you're just playing poker to unwind after work. It gets worse if you've been associated with others involved in digital scams. For example, if your bank account has received funds from someone under investigation, you might find yourself facing character concerns under Section 501 of the Migration Act, without ever committing a crime yourself. Cryptocurrency transactions are also under heavy scrutiny. If you're moving crypto anonymously or being flagged in financial monitoring systems, that can be used as a reason to question your integrity and your right to stay in the country. In 2025, the line between online behavior and real-world consequences has blurred. If you're on a visa, always keep your financial and digital footprint clean, avoid gray areas, and if you're ever accused or investigated, get legal help immediately, because once you're flagged, the system moves fast, and there may be no second chance. Number 5. Domestic disputes or AVOs. You don't need to be convicted of a crime to be deported from Australia. In fact, in 2025, just being involved in a domestic dispute or having an apprehended violence order, AVO, filed against you, can be enough to put your visa in danger. An AVO is a legal order meant to protect someone who feels threatened, usually in cases of domestic arguments, relationship breakdowns, or family issues. And while an AVO isn't the same as a criminal charge, it still carries serious weight in the eyes of immigration authorities. Here's the harsh truth. Even if no violence occurred, and even if the AVO was filed out of anger or misunderstanding, it can be used as evidence of character concerns. Under Section 501 of the Migration Act, the government can cancel your visa if they believe you pose a risk to the community, or if they feel you've failed the good character test. And this isn't rare. There have been many cases where temporary and permanent visa holders were deported after a heated argument with a partner that led to police involvement. No charges, no court conviction, just an AVO, and suddenly, a person who's lived in Australia for years is forced to leave within days. Even more concerning, false or exaggerated claims can still have consequences, especially if there's no legal challenge or proper defense presented. Immigration officers don't need a judge's verdict, they only need reasonable suspicion that you're a risk. So what should you do? If you're involved in a domestic dispute, take it seriously. Get legal advice immediately, and avoid letting emotions turn into official records, because in Australia's immigration system, even a personal argument can cost you everything. Number 4. Overstaying by just a few days. You might think overstaying your visa by a day or two isn't a big deal. Maybe you lost track of time, had trouble booking a flight, or were waiting for a new visa to be processed. But in 2025, even overstaying by a single day can lead to automatic visa cancellation, detention, or deportation. Yes, just one day can change everything. Australia's immigration laws have become increasingly strict, and the current system doesn't leave much room for grace periods or excuses. If your visa expires and you haven't been granted a new one, you're instantly considered unlawfully present in the country. That status triggers serious consequences, like being banned from applying for future visas for 3 years, or even being held in immigration detention while arrangements for removal are made. Many people assume they'll get a reminder, or that they can fix it after the fact. But immigration authorities aren't required to notify you when your visa is about to expire. It's your responsibility to keep track, and in this digital age, the system detects overstays almost instantly. What's even worse is that people with otherwise perfect records, students, skilled workers, even families, have been deported for minor overstays, often without a chance to explain their situation. Some find out they've overstayed when they try to leave the country, only to be flagged at the airport and banned from returning. The message is clear: know your visa expiry date, set reminders, double-check everything. And if there's any delay or confusion, speak to a migration agent before your visa runs out, because in Australia's current immigration system, a few days late can cost you years of your life. Number 3. Associations with risky groups. You don't have to commit a crime to be seen as a threat. In 2025, Australian immigration law allows authorities to cancel a visa based purely on your associations, even if you've never broken the law yourself. That's right. Just being connected to certain individuals, groups, or communities deemed risky by the government can be enough to trigger a visa review or permanent removal from the country. Who are these risky groups? It could be people involved in organized crime, extremist political movements, or suspected fraud rings. But the issue is that these definitions are often broad and vague. Even being friends on social media, attending a public event, or sharing content that appears to support a controversial group can be used as evidence of association. What's more concerning is that you don't need to know someone's criminal background to be impacted. If authorities believe you've had sustained contact with someone under investigation, through messages, money transfers, or even just hanging out in the same place, they can decide that your continued presence in Australia is not in the public interest. Real cases have involved students deported for living with housemates later linked to gang activity, or individuals removed for receiving money from a friend who was part of a flagged organization. And once you're on their radar, everything gets watched. Your calls, bank transactions, travel records, and social media activity. The bottom line? Be very cautious about who you associate with, both online and offline. You might not be doing anything wrong, but if someone close to you is, you could pay the price. In today's immigration climate, your network matters more than ever, and sometimes it's not what you did, it's who you know. Number 2. Social media activity. What you post online could cost you your life in Australia. No, that's not an exaggeration. In 2025, your social media activity is now being used as part of visa assessments and deportation decisions. and many people have no idea just how serious this has become. Australian immigration authorities are now monitoring public platforms like Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and even private group chats where behavior or opinions are shared. The goal? To identify people who may pose a risk to public safety, fail the good character test, or promote views that are considered harmful, misleading, or extremist. That includes things like hate speech, conspiracy theories, anti-government rhetoric, and even posts that seem to support violent protests or criminal activity, even if you're just resharing someone else's content. In recent cases, visa holders have been deported for making offensive jokes online, commenting aggressively during political debates, or simply sharing controversial opinions on sensitive issues. One international student was removed after posting content supporting a banned political movement in their home country. Another was deported after promoting unverified medical claims that were flagged as dangerous misinformation. Even likes, shares, and follows can be interpreted as signs of your beliefs or associations. Immigration officials don't need a court conviction. They only need to believe your behavior raises national security or character concerns. It's a digital minefield. So if you're on a visa, treat your online presence as seriously as your visa documents. Think before you post. Avoid heated debates. Keep your digital footprint clean and respectful. Because in today's immigration system, your next tweet could be your last day in Australia. Number 1. Failing the good character test. It's one of the most powerful and most feared tools in Australia's immigration system, the good character test. And in 2025, failing this test doesn't just mean losing your visa. It could mean permanent deportation, without trial, without warning, and with no chance to return. But here's the catch. The definition of good character is broad, and it goes far beyond criminal convictions. Under Section 501 of the Migration Act, immigration authorities can cancel your visa if they believe you're not of good character, even if you've never been charged with a crime. That could mean having a police warning, being linked to someone with a criminal record, or simply being involved in behavior that's seen as socially or morally unacceptable. In some cases, even repeated traffic offenses, verbal altercations, or past allegations, without proof, have triggered visa reviews under this rule. And once your visa is under review for character grounds, the process is often swift and one-sided. You may receive a notice asking you to explain your conduct, but if you respond late or fail to convince them, your visa can be canceled instantly, and you could be detained or deported within days. What makes this even more dangerous is that your entire history, including your time overseas, can be considered. Old records from another country, dismissed charges, or past behavior on social media can all be factored in. So what can you do? Stay out of trouble. Be mindful of who you associate with. Keep your digital and social life clean, because under the current system, even the appearance of bad character is enough to lose everything. In Australia, it's not just what you do, it's who you are. And the good character test is watching. So now you know. Deportation from Australia in 2025 isn't just about breaking the law. It's about how you live, who you associate with, what you post online, and even whether you remember to update your address. From minor visa breaches to online behavior, and from medical concerns to unproven allegations, the system has become more complex, more automated, and frankly, more unforgiving. You could be doing everything right in your eyes, but still be on thin ice without even knowing it. These 10 rules show just how easy it is to get caught off guard and how important it is to stay fully informed and compliant. Because in today's Australia, it's not enough to just follow the rules, you need to understand the system behind them. And remember, deportation isn't always about guilt, it's about risk. If authorities see you as a potential threat, even slightly, they can act fast. And your future could change overnight. So protect yourself, know your visa conditions, be smart with your online presence, keep your records accurate, and if you're ever unsure, get expert legal help before it's too late.